Around 4 or 5 years ago, I stopped playing The Division 2. Not because I hated it, not because it was bad, and it was pretty bad back then, but I just played it too much. And eventually what happened is I got burnt out. So now fast forward around 4 or 5 years to 2026, and I've decided to reinstall it. So the big question I kept seeing online was, is The Division 2 still worth playing in 2026? So instead of giving you a quick yes or no, well, I'm going to break this down properly. The good, the bad, and the who this game is actually for now. And at the end, I'll tell you straight whether I think you should play it or whether you shouldn't. But this certainly had me curious to reinstall the game to test out if it actually was worth it or not. So coming back after over 4 years away completely changes your perspective of the game. Because I didn't slowly grind through every season, I didn't chase every meta, I didn't optimize every build for years. So now, well, there's a huge amount of content waiting for me. That alone makes it feel really fresh for me and exciting, and I've got that kind of bug where I feel like I'm a new player again. So there are exotics, of course, I've never farmed before, never seen before. There's gear sets I've never tested and never seen as well. There's new balancing changes, there's new seasonal structures, which I actually quite like, and the entirely new modes that didn't even exist when I left. Descent, Countdown, this retaliation that's going on right now. It's all new stuff, and I genuinely feel closer to starting a new game than I am returning to an old one, if that makes any sense. It's almost like I've just come back to this brand new game again. I'm that young EK that's just started playing Division 2 again. It feels like that. So how does it hold up in 2026? Well, let's talk about the fundamentals first. So the gunplay still feels excellent. I don't think there's another game out there that has gunplay and combat like Division 2. People sometimes say, oh, Ark Raiders is similar. It's not. It's not. The Division 2 or the Division franchise has nailed the gunplay. The cover-based combat still feels weighty and it's very tactical, and I did notice that the NPCs were flanking more and they were more intelligent, if you like. The sound design is still some of the best in its genre. I really do think the sound and visuals of this are fantastic. Washington, DC and New York still look fantastic. The environmental details, the lighting, the atmosphere, it holds up surprisingly well for a game that's launched, you know, back in 2019. But from a gameplay feel perspective, it does not feel that outdated, if that makes sense. You know, and that's important because if the core combat didn't hold up, none of the extra content that they're doing or working on would even matter. And it doesn't feel like this game is as old as it is. Even graphically, everything about the game is still standing on par with games that are releasing now in 2026. So now let's talk new game modes and what's actually different. Now here's where things are going to get interesting for returning players especially. Brand new players, of course, you won't have known any of the other modes, but Descent. Descent is one of the biggest additions since I stopped playing personally. And I can only explain it as like a roguelike inspired mode where you start with limited/no gear, no build, no advantages. And as you progress, you earn randomized talents and you basically stack them together. So every run is different. You're not locked into your usual build. You're not relying on your stash. You're adapting on the fly. So you're basically building as you go. And it removes one of the biggest causes of burnout in my opinion, repetitive farming with one fixed setup. But also it is the same kind of game mode over and over again. So the replayability is probably not as good as it seems. Descent feels skill-based and more experimental. And honestly, I think it's a pretty good addition that they made there. I quite enjoy it, but again, I haven't been grinding this out a lot. I can imagine after a certain amount of time, Descent is just going to become non-playable, or you're just not going to want to play it anymore. And then there's Countdown. Well, 8 players, fantastic. Timed objectives, constant pressure. Fast, efficient, chaotic, in a good way. So if you want to farm gear quickly, Countdown is one of the best activities in the game now. So just set your target loot, go ahead, go into the game, and you drop a ton of it. It respects your time more than replaying the same mission endlessly. That's the only way I can explain that. So for someone coming back after years away, this is huge because catching up doesn't feel slow or painful. And I can pretty much get gear from that target loot system from Countdown easier. I've actually put together numerous builds now where I've just gone in and target farm gear, and I've luckily managed to get some of the pieces that I need. So seasons and manhunts. So seasons are still a thing. They're still active. They're still going on. And manhunts as well keep going on, and they rotate. Now, global events return. There's still a live service structure in place there as well. So the game doesn't feel abandoned, although it kind of is on a constant loop of objectives and rotating content rather than new, which is not a bad thing, because potentially they're working on Division 3, or I think it's confirmed they're working on Division 3. So hopefully that means, we're just going to keep getting these bits and pieces, and there are new things coming out. They are setting a roadmap, and they're, it's nearly 10 years as the Division franchise. It's just coming up, I think, next week or in the next few days. So it's okay. They're still just ticking it over. So there is still ongoing support, and it is structured content. So, let's just bear with them, I suppose. I was never that forgiving before, because I would always criticize the fact that we're just replaying the same stuff. And I think that time off has actually made this a little bit better and easier for me. So let's talk about build variety. One thing I appreciate far more now than I did years ago is build diversity. Now, because I'm not locked into chasing one specific meta anymore. Before, it was kind of drilled down, you had a shield, you had your rifle, whether that be a baker's dozen or whatever it was. That's it. You had a skill build, it was all hardwire or whatever it may be, that was it. Everything now feels new again to me. Skill build, striker DPS, tank hybrids, hazard protection build so you can use the backfire, exotic focused setups. So the experimenting to me now is fun again, building different things and experimenting with different combinations of gear sets or named gear. It's really, really becoming fun for me again. And that's something I lost before I quit the game, because when you've been playing non-stop for years and you've put that many hours in, everything started to feel like I'd solved it already. And anything new that came out, I'd complete it fast because my build was there already. And it just kind of just felt stagnant. But stepping away, of course, reset that feeling for me. And I'm glad it did, because now I've come back and there's that many different build varieties around. It is really, really good. So now, let's be honest, there are still issues, right? The loot RNG can still be frustrating. Those rainbow gear pieces. You can farm for a piece for hours and not get the exact rolls you want. So, for example, I've been looking for striker gear with hazard protection on it. It's pretty rare. But if everything was given straight away, it would be boring again. The balancing isn't always perfect as well. Certain builds dominate at higher difficulties. It is true. You can't just put on any build and go and do legendaries easily. You really do have to dial your builds in, and the balancing, does lean towards certain builds and playstyles. Now, if you play consistently for years, you might feel fatigued now, because the core loop hasn't fundamentally changed at all. The story content isn't expanding in massive ways anymore. And if you hate grinding, well, it's still a grind-based game. That part hasn't changed at all. So the Division 2 has always been about optimization and repetition. So if you're expecting a completely new experience in 2026, that's not what it is. But if you haven't experienced any of this in 2026, you got to come and get this. You've got to experience this, because you're going to love it. Or if you had just a long time away like myself. So let's now think about, who is this game for at this point? Who's the game for now? So in 2026, the Division 2 is best for players who enjoy build crafting, players who enjoy PvE focused progression, players who like tactical cover-based combat, and of course returning players who've been away for a while. And anyone that wants to mix it up with a PvE and an option for PvP, of course, the Dark Zone, definitely, it's got best of both worlds in this game. It's probably not going to be ideal for players who want constant brand new story expansions, because that's not going to happen now. Like I said earlier, Division 3, that's when you're going to want to, expand the story. But I would recommend everyone play Division 1 and Division 2 just to get the whole story and what's going on. Probably not for players who hate RNG. The RNG is awful. It's not just in this game, but any kind of looter shooter or any kind of game where you need to loot items. And if you burn out easily from looting or loot games, this game's definitely not for you, because you will be grinding after gear. And then once you've got that gear, you're going to try and make it proficient. Then you're going to have to grind for materials to make that proficient. You're going to have to dismantle gear, sell gear, swap gear, do everything in the game. But there's a lot of stuff to do which is going to keep you occupied for a good amount of time. So, well, should you play The Division in 2026? Here's the honest answer. If you've never played it before, yes, 100%. There is a massive amount of content, no pun intended, strong gameplay fundamentals, and enough variety to justify the time investment. And of course, this game is going to be cheap now because it's been out for so long. Even the new expansions like Brooklyn and Warlords of New York, they're going to be cheap now. You're not going to have to worry about spending a lot of money, but this game is going to give you a lot of hours worth of play and story as well. So what about if you quit years ago like I did? A lot of people left, you know, after the ban waves and stuff like that, a lot of people left. I think yes, but for a different reason you should return. Time away has made it feel fresh. Descent adds unpredictability. Countdown makes farming efficient. Seasons give more structure, and the build experimentation feels rewarding again. So it's not perfect, it's not revolutionary in 2026, but you're going to have a lot to do because you haven't played it for so long, and there's going to be a lot to play with. It's polished, it's content rich at the moment, and it's still one of the strongest PvE looter shooters available, and I'm going to say it out. That's the truth. That's what it is. So should you play Division 2 in 2026? Well, if you enjoy progression, builds, tactical combat, yes. If you're expecting something completely new, probably not. For me, after 4 years away, I am 100% glad I'm back. And I don't know how long that's going to last or until I get burnt out again. Just literally hit the end of a season. Well, it's ending tomorrow. So I managed to get to my season pass to level 100, get the Lexington AR. And I've just been really thinking about the game a lot. Even when I'm not playing, I'm wanting to come back and play the game. It's like I've just started playing again, like I mentioned earlier. And I'm really having a good time. I'm just going to see how it goes. We're going to do some videos. We're going to do some bits and pieces with the game. Whether I'll get invested as much as I did before, I don't know. But time will certainly tell. Let me know in the comment section if you are playing the game now, if you're a new player looking at playing the game, or if you left and you've watched this video thinking, what the hell is EK1 doing back on Division 2? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget, if you are new, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.